Let's dive into a story from the early 20th century that honestly sounds like it's straight out of a science fiction novel. We're talking about a teenage inventor, a mysterious box that supposedly creates energy out of thin air, and a promise that could have changed the world forever. This is the Enigma of Alfred Hubbard's fuelless generator. So, let's just get right to the heart of it, because the central claim sounds completely bonkers. I want you to picture a box, okay? It's smaller than a briefcase, no fuel, no moving parts, nothing. Now imagine that same little box generating enough power to push an 18-foot boat across the water. This isn't just some thought experiment. It's what thousands of people in Seattle apparently saw with their own two eyes over 100 years ago. And this wasn't just some whispered rumor. No, this was front-page news. The Seattle Post-Intelligencer was all over it. They covered this big public demonstration in 1920, where a reporter, being rightfully skeptical, actually lifted the device out of the boat himself, searching for hidden wires or batteries. He found nothing. The boat just ran for hours, all powered by this little mysterious coil. So, who was the brain behind this absolutely incredible machine? You might be picturing some seasoned, gray-haired inventor, right? Well, you might be surprised to find out that this whole revolutionary technology was supposedly the work of a teenager. This is him, Alfred M. Hubbard. When he first started making headlines back in 1919, he was just 19 years old. Reports say he'd actually been tinkering with this thing since he was 16. He wasn't some famous scientist or a big-shot corporate engineer. He was just a kid from Seattle who claimed he had solved one of the biggest problems on the planet.
The million-dollar question, of course, is what was in it? How could it possibly work? Hubbard was pretty secretive, you can imagine. But over the years, some of the details about how it was built have surfaced from old documents and diagrams.
And this wasn't just your standard transformer or anything like that. The Hubbard generator had this really unique setup. One big central core surrounded by 8 smaller electromagnetic coils. Apparently, this very specific arrangement was the secret sauce, the key to the whole thing. So, here are the main parts. That central core, those 8 outer coils all set up in a circle. But look at the wiring, heavy gauge copper wire. We're talking the kind of thick stuff you see on power lines. Now that's a really big clue. It suggests this little device was built to handle a massive amount of electricity. And this wasn't just a media stunt. It started getting some serious backing. A really well-respected physics professor, Father William E. Smith, actually got to examine the device, and he was totally sold. He went on record saying Hubbard's invention was, and I quote, destined to take the place of existing power generators. Now, he admitted he didn't know how it worked, but he confirmed it wasn't just a battery. This kind of academic seal of approval gave the teenage inventor's wild claims some serious weight. Okay, but this is where the story takes a really sharp, kind of weird turn. As time went on, Hubbard's own explanation for how his generator worked, well, it started to change dramatically. So at first, Hubbard said his machine was pulling energy from the air, an idea that sounded a lot like theories from Nikola Tesla. But then, fast forward to 1928, and the story is completely different. He suddenly admits the generator was actually powered by radium. And his excuse for the switch-up? He claimed the first story was a total lie just to protect his patent.
And when you look at the timeline, the shift is it's glaring. Right after his amazing public demos, Hubbard goes to work for the Radium Chemical Company. It's only after he's been working there that he comes out and changes his story to be all about radioactive materials. So, was he pressured? Was this the truth all along? The timing is definitely suspicious.
And we're not talking about chump change here. There was serious money flying around. The Radium Corporation of Pittsburgh reportedly paid $75,000 for just 50% of the patent rights. Back in the 1920s, that was an absolute fortune. This clearly wasn't just some kid's garage project anymore. It was a high-stakes invention with major corporate players involved.
But then, after the big sale and the shifting stories, the trail just goes cold. Poof. So what in the world happened to this seemingly world-changing device? Why did it just vanish?
Well, a few big theories have popped up over the years. Did the authorities, as some sources claim, step in and just shut it all down? Was it bought up by the Radium Corporation just to be put on a shelf and forgotten about to protect their own business? Or, is the truth a lot simpler? Maybe it just never really worked that well. Or maybe the whole thing was just an incredibly clever hoax from the start. But no matter what you believe, here's the one undeniable fact. Despite the crazy headlines, the public demonstrations, the stamp of approval from a physics professor, the Hubbard generator never powered a single home or factory. It just
disappeared, leaving behind nothing but a whole bunch of questions and a really deep, fascinating mystery. And so, here we are, left with that final nagging question. Was Hubbard's generator a real piece of lost technology, something that was suppressed before it could change everything? Or was he just a brilliant showman who managed to pull off one heck of an illusion? The clues are there, but a century later, the enigma of the fuelless generator is still very much unsolved.